entered the synagogue, there was a man there who had a withered hand. They watched Jesus closely to see if he could cure him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. He said to the man with the withered hand, "Come up here before us." Then he said to the Pharisees, "Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath rather than to do evil? To save life rather than to destroy it?" But they remained silent, looking around at them with anger, and grieved at their hardness of heart. Jesus said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately took counsel with Herodians against him to put him to death. The Gospel of the Lord. The debate at the time of Jesus, the debate promoted by our Lord around the Sabbath, had one objective: to love more. The objective was to eliminate those things that were not original to God's plan, the moral plans, the ethical plans that God had revealed to Moses, and that was contained in the Ten Commandments. Those things that had been added with the passing of the time, and that in reality were contrary to God's plan. They hid behind the strict observance of the Sabbath rest, which was their day dedicated to God. They hid behind that in order to not do good. Jesus makes it clear that this has nothing to do with the divine plan. He creates enemies, but he does it to save men. But what is the today? On the other hand, this action of Christ to free us from things that were not foreseen and commanded by God, why is the use to date for the opposite? When to date is said that the Sabbath should not be respected, in the sense of respecting the law, sometimes also respecting the Sunday rest and dedicating Sunday to celebrate the Holy Mass, to participate in the Mass. When this is said, it is not saying the same thing that Jesus said. When it is said the moral laws should not be respected when it is not convenient to respect them, and that moral laws, it is being said, are an oppression for men that Jesus Christ broke. They say the moral laws, he ended with them. He left everything to do good intention, to the good feeling, or in any case, he left it to the circumstances. You have to do good, but it all depends on what your circumstances are. That is to say, Christ's intentions has been turned around in order to take advantage of his words taken out of context, to say the opposite of what Christ said. Christ broke the law of the Sabbath to love more, not to justify sins, not to justify loving less, but to love more. This is the background of the debate then, and this is what must be discovered today. It must be made clear because the debate about the fulfillment of the moral laws is being used. The debate that Jesus Christ undertakes to say the opposite of our Lord. You have to love, but you have to love more, not less. I remember when I was a teenager and it happened to me. I suppose I was not the only one. At least in my time, when I went through a very hard stage of scruples, the spiritual director gave me a wise solution because some people had told me, do what it costs you the most, and that was terrible because of course I had to flagellate myself. To stick daggers in me is very dangerous if you have no other criteria. That can lead to physical harm. Of course, the spiritual director told me, do where there is more love. No, where there are more excuses not to love. Not where you can find a way to stay with a clear conscience doing whatever you want. That is why it is true that our Lord is above the Sabbath. It is true that he breaks and confronts some of the prescriptions of the Sabbath. Not all of them, but some of them. It is true that he expands the commandments given by Moses, but not to lower them, but to increase their demands, to put things where they should be put in love. Saint Augustine went so far as to say, love and do what you will, but not in the sense of love that we use today, synonymous with debauchery of orgies, but in the sense of love in imitation of Christ. Imitate Christ. Do what Christ will do if he were in your place, and you will see how then you will have no doubts about how to behave. May be so.